Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. We're going to be taking a deep dive into Boeing today.
Okay.
You sent in a whole bunch of stuff, really interesting mix, recent stock analysis, news reports,
Mm-hmm.
some technical assessments of the stock. Really, it's quite a mix. So
Yeah,
I think our mission today is to try to figure out what are the most important insights for you guys.
absolutely.
So we've got info about Boeing's recent stock price jump to $178.11. A big new government contract. We'll talk about that.
Right.
Their overall financial situation, what analysts are saying. It seems like there's a lot of moving pieces here.
There certainly is. I mean, right off the bat, that 5.39% jump up to $178.11.
Yeah.
That's something to pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the primary drivers behind that move?
Well, probably the most immediate thing that comes to mind is yesterday's announcement of that $20 billion contract
Right.
for Boeing to develop the F-47 fighter jet for the U.S. Air Force
Mm-hmm.
as part of the NGAD program.
Yeah,
That's huge.
absolutely. I mean, we're talking about a sixth-generation fighter here, which is, be a major technological leap forward. And it's not just any contract. It's, potentially worth hundreds of billions over its lifetime.
That's incredible. And this wasn't just like all of a sudden this happened, right?
No, no, no. Apparently, they've had a prototype that they've been secretly flight testing for nearly 5 years.
Wow.
So this has been in the works for a while. I mean, it's a significant long-term investment they've been making.
And, this comes on the heels of them reporting a $6 billion loss in the third quarter of 2024
Right, right.
and facing a bunch of challenges. So it's interesting to see this contract potentially be,
Yeah, it seems like a turning point, a
yeah.
real shift in their fortunes.
And the stock market definitely reacted. Boeing's stock surged between 4 and 6% after the announcement,
Wow.
while Lockheed Martin, who was also in the running for this contract, actually saw their stock drop.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. It really it speaks volumes about how the market perceives,
Mm-hmm.
these two big defense contractors.
Right. And think about it. I mean, this F-47,
Yeah.
it's supposed to eventually replace the F-22.
Yeah.
And work alongside these uncrewed drones. So we're talking about, changing the landscape of aerial warfare.
So, upwards of $300 million per jet for full-scale production, that's a lot of money.
It is. It just shows the level of technology we're talking about, the scale of this program.
Yeah.
But, it's important to keep in mind all of this exciting news
Yeah.
needs to be considered within the context of Boeing's overall financial health, right?
Yeah. And that's a great point.
Right.
They did have a net loss of $11.8 billion in 2024, but their revenue was $66.5 billion. So,
Right. So they're bringing in money,
yeah.
but there's definitely a gap there that they need to close. But analysts are projecting a potential free cash flow of $11 billion by 2028, which suggests, maybe a turnaround is on the horizon.
Right.
Free cash flow, by the way, that's the money a company has left over
Right.
after paying for its operations and investments.
Yeah.
It's a good indicator of financial strength.
Now, you also sent us some stuff about the commercial aerospace sector.
Yes.
Projected to grow 3-5% annually. So how does that play into all of this?
Well, this is where things get really interesting because Boeing has the potential to benefit from growth in both the defense and commercial markets.
Right.
Their commercial airplanes division, they've had some issues, but if they can capitalize on that projected growth
Yeah.
while also successfully executing this F-47 program, that could be a powerful combination for achieving that financial turnaround we were talking about.
But they are facing those ongoing production challenges and
Right.
regulatory scrutiny in the commercial aircraft division.
Yeah, those are definitely some headwinds they need to address. But on the flip side, they have a very diverse portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial airplanes, defense, space exploration, global services,
Yeah.
and they have a huge backlog of orders, which is
Yeah.
a big plus. So they've got a lot going for them as well.
So what are the experts saying? What's the overall outlook?
Well, the analyst price targets are all over the place, from $113 all the way up to $250.
Oh, that's a huge spread.
It is. And it shows that there's a lot of uncertainty about Boeing's future. Some analysts are bullish, seeing a potential upside of over 15%.
Okay.
But, that range, that big spread, it really tells you that there's no consensus on whether this defense contract will be enough to offset the problems in their commercial division.
I see.
The $113 target, that's probably from people who are still worried about those commercial challenges
Right.
and skeptical of a turnaround. Whereas the $250 target, That's likely from people who are putting a lot of weight on this long-term defense program.
We also have, some technical analysis in here too.
Yeah.
Adjusting a recent upward trend. Some people even see a Gartley pattern, which they think means a potential reversal and further upward movement.
Interesting. But, the analyst recommendations, they kind of reflect the complexity of the situation, right?
Yeah.
A buy rating might make sense for someone looking for short-term gains
Right.
based on this recent positive momentum. But a hold might be better for a long-term investor,
Right.
given those financial challenges that are still out there.
So essentially, we've got a company that's landed a major new defense contract, which is obviously great for their stock price,
Absolutely.
but they are still dealing with financial losses and those production issues in their commercial aircraft division.
Right.
So their future really seems to hinge on how well they execute on this F-47 program and how quickly they can turn things around in their commercial operations, especially with the aerospace industry expected to grow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. This F-47 contract, it definitely adds a whole new dimension to the Boeing story.
And with all these different opinions from the analysts and the technical patterns,
Right.
there's definitely potential for more volatility in the stock.
For sure. It's not a simple situation.
So what stands out to you most from all of this information? What questions has this raised for you?
Well, I'm really curious to see
Yeah.
if Boeing can actually pull off this turnaround. They've got the potential, but can they execute? What do you think?
Let us know what you think. We encourage you to subscribe, like, and comment, and share your thoughts with us.
We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.